Jack had never been afraid of being alone. At least, not until that night. His parents had to leave town unexpectedly after getting a call about a family member who had been involved in an accident. They were supposed to be gone for only one night. Before leaving, Jack's mom reminded him to lock all the doors and windows and call them if he needed anything. Jack told her he would be fine. And for the first few hours, he was. It was around 11:30 p.m. when Jack was sitting alone in the living room, watching TV. Outside, a light rain was falling. The neighborhood was completely quiet. Then suddenly, a loud noise came from upstairs. Jack immediately muted the TV. He stared at the staircase for a few seconds. Nothing. He waited. Still nothing. Finally, Jack grabbed his phone and turned on the flashlight. He slowly walked upstairs. He checked his bedroom, then the hallway. Then a small storage room at the end of the hall. Nothing was out of place. Jack figured something had probably fallen off a shelf. He went back downstairs and continued watching TV. Around 1 a.m., Jack turned the TV off and went to bed. A few hours later, something woke him up. At first, he didn't know what it was. Then he heard it, the sound of the TV downstairs. Jack sat up in bed. He listened carefully. The TV was definitely on. For a moment, he thought maybe he had forgotten to turn it off. But then he remembered. He had turned it off himself. Jack slowly got out of bed and walked downstairs. The living room was glowing with the blue light from the television. The TV was on, but nobody was sitting in front of it. Jack stood at the bottom of the stairs, staring at the screen. He checked the couch. Empty. He looked toward the kitchen. Nothing. The front door was still locked. He walked over to the TV and turned it off with the remote. Then he turned on every light in the room. He checked the living room, the kitchen, the dining room. Nothing. No one was there. Jack pulled out his phone and called his mom. He told her what had happened. His mom tried to calm him down. She said maybe the TV had turned on by itself. But Jack knew he had turned it off. He asked his parents to come home as soon as they could. They told him they were already on their way. Jack hung up. For a moment, he just stood there in the brightly lit living room. Then he decided to go back upstairs. When he reached the hallway, he stopped. His bedroom door was slightly open. Jack stared at it. He was certain he had closed it before going downstairs. He slowly walked toward the door. He pushed it open. The room was completely dark. Jack reached for the light switch. Nothing seemed unusual until he heard a quiet sound from the bed. Jack froze. It sounded like someone had just sat down on his mattress. There was nobody there, but the center of his bed was slightly pressed down, as if someone had been sitting there only seconds earlier. Jack slowly stepped backward. Then suddenly, the door closed somewhere behind him in the hallway. Jack turned around. The hallway was empty. That was enough. He ran into his bedroom, locked the door, and waited for his parents. About 40 minutes later, headlights appeared outside the house. His parents were finally home. Jack immediately told them everything that had happened. His father checked every window and every door. Everything was locked. There was no sign that anyone had broken into the house. Then his mom remembered something. The house had a security camera pointed toward the living room. She asked Jack if he had checked the footage. They pulled up the recording. At first, everything looked normal. Then they reached the exact time when the TV had turned on. The three of them stared at the screen. The living room appeared empty. The TV was playing. And then, Someone walked into the room. Jack stopped breathing. It looked like a man. He walked slowly toward the television. Then he stopped and turned toward the security camera. Jack's father paused the recording. Nobody said a word. Jack asked him to play it again. This time they watched closely. The figure slowly walked toward the camera. Closer and closer, until his face almost filled the screen. Then the footage suddenly cut to black. Jack looked at his parents. Neither of them knew what to say. But there was one thing that made the footage impossible to explain. The security camera showed the figure entering the living room at 3:17 a.m. At that exact time, Jack was upstairs in his locked bedroom. And according to the recording, the front door had never opened. Jack never stayed home alone again.